with the trade deadline, we are focused on what was incoming, which was Trayce Jackson-Davis, but we haven't really focused on what was outgoing. And what was outgoing to help us get under the tax or to help make that move was trading away Ochai Agbaji. And it was a trade where the Raptors actually had to attach a second-round pick to get off him. You know, that's the penalty. You want to dump salary somewhere, it's not free. I don't go to the dump and throw my garbage away for free. There's a cost there. Not to call Ochai Agbaji garbage, but there's a cost there. And it costs a second-round pick. And it's kind of a shame that it cost the Raptors a second-round pick to do that because they had previously given away a first-round pick kind of in order to get him. So I wanted to go over how did this pretty promising relationship fizzle out into such disappointment a mere 2 years later. If you need the refresher, the trade that made this happen, that brought Agbaji to the team, honestly, like a great trade. Looking at, like at the time, looking at it, the Raptors acquired Kelly Olynyk and Ochai Agbaji from the Utah Jazz. And to do it, they got rid of Otto Porter, who retired, like, was nothing. Kyra Lewis, who I think is out of the league. Maybe he's in the G League. And a 2024 first-round pick. Now, not all first-round picks are equal because this 2024 first-round pick was pretty much an Oklahoma City Thunder first-round pick. That's what it ended up becoming. It was like the worst pick out of, I think it was a few teams. I think it was like Houston, LA Clippers, maybe Utah as well, and the Thunder. It ended up being the second last pick in the first round, the 29th overall pick, which you could really and probably should make the case that a 29th overall pick is less valuable than, for instance, a 31st overall pick, which the Raptors had in the draft. Don't worry about who they used that pick on. But you have more flexibility with that 31st overall pick because you're not as tied to them. You're not giving them the standard 4-year contract. There's a little bit more leverage the team has with the contracts in that scenario. So when your 31st overall pick isn't exactly working out, again, you're not tied to them for the 4-year period of time. You're not paying them as much as you would a first-round pick, even just 2 picks before in this instance. So it was not a valuable pick there. The Raptors had their 31st overall pick that year, and they valued having that more. On the surface, this trade looks a whole of a lot better if you go, well, they gave away a second-round pick. Who cares? They actually gave away a first-round pick that was inferior to the second-round pick that they owned. This, if you're curious, this pick turned into Isaiah Collier, who the Utah Jazz, again, selected 29th overall. You know what? I'll let you know. It was Jonathan Mobley. Raptors drafted Jonathan Mobley with the 31st pick. Not fantastic. But again, because they kept the 31st pick, they have much more flexibility if that pick doesn't work out. Whereas maybe they would have taken him 29th. You're not stuck. I'm using some bad language here. I need better euphemisms here. But you're with that guy for 4 years, and that player has a little bit more control of where they're at. So anyways, back on track here. Agbaji comes into the team, a young wing who has good defensive ability and good potential as a shooter. This is a guy who was a national champion in college, did play, I think it was 4 years of college basketball, but still had enough juice to warrant getting selected in the lottery of the 2022 NBA draft. This was a former lottery pick. 14th overall pick by the Cleveland Cavaliers in 2022. Never played a game for the Cavs because he was used in the trade for Donovan Mitchell that brought Donovan Mitchell to Cleveland. So he went to the Jazz. And with the Jazz, there was some promise. Like his rookie season, he shot 35% from 3. He was following that up with a 33% from 3 season the Jazz. When the Raptors traded for him, he just forgot how to shoot. It was pretty incredible. He played 27 games for that tanking Raptors team and just forgot how to shoot. Under 40% from the field, 22% from 3. Then last season, his only full season with the Raptors, he balloons up to 50% shooting from the field, 40% shooting from 3. He was one of the very, very best corner three-point shooters in the NBA. That felt really promising. And coming into this season, we knew the Raptors were above the luxury tax threshold. They needed to come under it. And it felt like the easiest way to do that was going to be to trade Agbaji, because Agbaji is an expiring contract. And it's an expiring contract that if we wanted to extend, we couldn't really afford to do that. So we were a little bit stuck there. I was worried. I'm like, Agbaji's probably going to be like a pretty important contributor to this team, and we're pretty much going to have to discard him because of the luxury tax scenario. That's a shame because it feels like he'll be an important part. As it turned out, I thought like maybe we could get a second for him. As it turned out, we had to give a second to get rid of him because it was an awful, truly awful season for Agbaji with the Raptors. All the way back down to 42% shooting from the field. He shot 19% from three. How do you go from 40 on 4 attempts per game down to 19% from three? Kind of like did it to himself here. Like whenever he came in, it was just like, why? Why is he playing? You can't put this guy in your rotation right now. So there was definitely promise there. He's definitely not old yet either. He's like 25 or 26 years old. But we really did see the ceiling and what the potential was for a player like Agbaji. It clearly just wasn't consistent on a year-to-year basis. I think he could recapture that somewhere. He's with the Brooklyn Nets now where he can get some play time and maybe try to find his footing a little bit once again. But it's disappointing how this relationship fizzled out the way it did when there was promise there. But it just seems like Ochai Agbaji with the Raptors kind of just wasn't meant to be, That's what it kind of feels like.